You are watching the New American Media.
You are listening to The Unhappy Hour sports radio show on thenewamericanmedia.com.
And happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back. I am your host, Brian Engelman. We have been talking about a whole lot of stuff today, whether it's the Cavs and Kyrie Irving and their efforts to move forward and field a competitive championship one of those championship-level teams, one of those caliber teams that can actually be one of the top 5 to compete for a championship, and how long it's going to take and if they're making the right moves. We've talked Dwight Howard, we've talked Team USA, and we're going to get into a few more things, probably some free agent issues going back and forth here. We're joined with Zak Baris. Zak is a lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. He usually joins us to talk all things basketball, and judging by the response online, 1,800 hits just in a week. A lot of people paying attention to the NBA right now, so if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, please click subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. And our sponsor for this segment is 3 Black Cats. Just go to their website. I can't tell you any better than I already have been doing. It's the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. That's STORENVY, only one E, the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. Tribal belly dance accessories and homemade herbal products. Zak, let's first talk about Jeremy Lin. I found it hard to believe that the Knicks were going to let him go and then Houston signed him, but now it looks like I heard one quote that said the Knicks were willing to match any offer for Jeremy Lin up to $1 billion, meaning they were never going to let him walk away. Let's talk about the whole scenario and some of the rumors that he was upset the Knicks didn't make an offer first.
I mean, it doesn't matter if the Knicks didn't make an offer first. I mean, they're in control of him. He's a restricted free agent. I think they wanted to see how the market would dictate itself, whether they were going to have to overpay for him themselves or whether another team was going to do that, and then they would match the offer no matter what. They wanted him back no matter what, so it didn't matter to them whether they offered him a deal. Lin can be as upset as he wants, but as soon as New York matches that contract offer, he's a New York Knick.
Right.
That's all that matters. He's a New York Knick. So he can be upset for the next 3 to 4 years, however long he's going to be playing for him for. You have to get over it sometime. And the Knicks were very good to Jeremy Lin in the fact that, had he been doing that with a team like the Golden State Warriors, who he was previously on, or a smaller market team, no one would have cared. It was the fact that he was a New York Knick and he was bringing basketball back to the Big Apple, which hasn't seen good basketball in over a decade.
I can't disagree with that. And some of the reports I read where Jeremy Lin was saying, "Come on, guys, I didn't say that." The quote wasn't directly attributed to him.
Jeremy Lin is a very bright young man, and I can't see him making any comment that would hurt his image or say anything stupid. He's a really smart person.
He went to Harvard.
He's never really said anything that would, basically hurt his image.
Where was he at?
That's
Harvard?
Been the big thing about Jeremy Lin.
Harvard, right? For Jeremy Lin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he was in the School of Business at Harvard or whatnot, but yeah, he is a bright kid. And, that's just the business of it. It's like the Knicks weren't going to let him walk away. It's just they had to – one of the number one rules in negotiations are you're not supposed to lead with anything. You're supposed to let the other person start the talk.
Because if the Knicks would have made him a lowball offer and then Houston would have gone in there and made a huge offer to him, he would have been even more hurt by that. That's why they were waiting on the offer. They knew a team was going to make him a big offer. It's the same situation with Eric Gordon down in New Orleans. New Orleans was pretty sure they were going to have to, sign Eric Gordon to a max extension. Instead, they let the Phoenix Suns do it, and then they're going to match. There was no question whether they were going to match all along. But they figured, what's the point of offering a guy 4 years, $40 million, and then he's going to feel hurt because, he realized he's worth $18 million more than they offered him, and then he's upset. But it happens. Restricted free agency. Don't forget, Anderson Varejao didn't want to be a Cavalier a few years ago. Signed that three-year deal with the Bobcats, and the Cavaliers matched him. He was upset at first, but he's gotten over it, and he loves playing in Cleveland now. It happens.
Yeah, it's just the business of business.
It's all a business.
What I like seeing is I like one of the components of some of the new collective bargaining agreements where it's a lot less holding out. It's more just kind of, all right, you're drafted in this order. Sign your contract for about that same price, and let's get into camp and get better. Because I'm going to spin over to football because I did an hour-long football program today talking about the Browns and the rest of the NFL and some college stuff, Joe Paterno and whatnot. But especially in Cleveland, where you've seen so many draft picks come in, they hold out, they're worthless most of the first season, they're still learning the playbooks, they have no team chemistry, and it really hurts a young team to not have the players in camp at the right time. So how quickly do you see all of these things resolving themselves? Like you said, Dwight Howard, that's going to last for a long time, possibly.
I mean, like I said, he could be either a Houston Rocket or a Los Angeles Laker by the end of the week. By the beginning, some of these trades come together so fast, and this is the thing is Houston, any deal that's going to happen right now is going through the Houston Rockets. It's going to be facilitated by them because of their abundance of cap space, or, Amnesty and Scola having a ton of future draft picks and having a ton of, rookies on the roster right now, and Terrence Jones, Jeremy Lamb, they're ridiculously young now. And like I said, they have tons of picks coming up. They can basically trade with whoever they want to and get almost any player they need to at this point. It's just a matter of I don't think they care right now. I think Houston's going to mortgage their future in order to attempt to be good now, because they realize it's an all or nothing scenario. And like I said, we don't know how long this is going to play out for. We really don't. This could last all year, even though I don't think Howard ever plays a game again in a Magic uniform. That's me personally. But, who knows? Maybe he could. I doubt he ever re-signs in Orlando. But you never know. Stranger things have happened in the NBA.
Well, and Danny Ferry might make a power play to go after it as well. Like you said, an all or nothing league. At some point, you gotta dismantle a roster, and some point you gotta make some moves. And at the end of the day, wherever Dwight Howard lands, like they tried to get him to the Nets, it didn't work out. And if he ends up somewhere because he's saying, I'm not playing for your team anymore, well, then you got to go. So when you show up, whether you wanted to be there or not initially, you're there now. You're on a new team. You're getting into the experience of what it's like. I don't know. I don't know that it would fail unless it's the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know that it would necessarily be doomed, but are we dealing with a child here? Are we dealing with someone with ADD and bipolar disorder?
I don't even think dealing him with the Brooklyn Nets would equate to a championship necessarily. I mean, like I said, they still have to beat a good Miami team that just added a couple great 3-point shooters to its roster. Rashard Lewis was a great 3-point shooter 4 years ago. But and who knows? He could turn it on again in Miami. You never know. But Ray Allen still has his shot. He's not what he used to be. But like I said earlier, beating Miami is not going to be an easy task for the Nets. Even if they had Dwight Howard and Joe Johnson and Darren Williams, that doesn't. Who's going to stop LeBron? Those are the questions there. Those are the questions that remain. It doesn't mean he'll ever win a championship. Over there. He just needs to have some more flexibility. He wants out of Orlando, but he only wants to go to one team.
Yeah,
that's what the most frustrating part about it is with the media and with everybody and with Orlando's front office, because they've tried to make it work out, but Brooklyn also didn't really have a ton of assets to give up.
Well,
they couldn't work out a 2-team trade.
Yeah, there's only so much anybody can do, and that's what I've defended the Cavs all along, just saying, there's only so many moves you can make. There are only so many roster swaps you can do, and at some point you've painted the room so much you're standing in the corner. And it's not that it's a bad paint job, but there's only so many ways you can move around puzzle pieces. And, my question is, with Dwight Howard coming off of back surgery and the fact that he doesn't want to re-sign, why would Houston even care about going this direction if they can't get him to resign and he's not even healthy? I wouldn't be doing this.
Because, like I said, they're trying to change up from their 41-win-a-year approach over the last few years. They're shooting for, they're trying to go for a title this year or in the future. I think they want to show Dwight, we have some fantastic young pieces around here. We'll be in the offseason. We'll be able to give you a 5-year deal that no one else will be able to give you. Let's go ahead right now and let's see. If we have a successful season, why don't you try staying with us again? We can give you whatever you want here. We have a lot of young picks over the next couple of years that we can help you build around in tons of cap space. That's how you can look at it. If you're Houston, that's how you're approaching the situation. If you're the Lakers, you're saying, we have this 2-year window right now with Nash and Kobe.
I could see
and
the
Powell
Lakers. I could see
to
the
win
Lakers
the next 2 years.
Yeah, with an aging
and then after
Kobe
that,
Bryant.
we're gonna have to change it up. But that's our approach. The next 2 years, we're only concerned about winning now over the next 2 seasons, and then we're gonna take it from there. And we're gonna go out and then we're gonna try to rebuild the roster again and try to keep winning. That's the Los Angeles Lakers philosophy. The Lakers don't go in. I can't remember the last time the Lakers had an actual losing season.
Me neither. I can't think of it.
You know, I mean, they've been a fantastic team for years. I mean, they put on some mediocre teams in the 90s and, you know, right after Shaq was traded. But, you know, that organization, you know, if I were Dwight Howard and I'm looking at it, I go, you know, it's like when you think about a sport, when the first team that comes to mind when you think of baseball are the New York Yankees. When you think of football, it's usually a team like the Green Bay Packers. And when you think of basketball, it's the Los Angeles Lakers. It is. You know, and if you're Dwight Howard, you know, they have a fantastic arena, great facility, a great practice facility. You know, it's the center of the basketball world. If you're Dwight Howard, why wouldn't you want to play in LA? I mean,
LA
that's
is
the question.
only
I mean,
place.
like it's baffling to see that Dwight Howard wouldn't want to play here.
Or maybe he wanted to play here all along, but he needed to. Yeah, I mean, now we'd be giving a lot of credit trying to narrow it down to just the Nets, just the Nets, just the Nets, have the Lakers fake an interest, like, whatever. And then when all hope seems lost and the Magic are saying, look, we're not going to get anything for this guy, this stinks, he's going to be here for another year, maybe the Lakers make him a small offer. Maybe they make him a little small offer, and that's where he wanted to go all along. I don't think so. But, I mean, it could be possible, I guess.
I mean, you never know, but, I mean, like I said, Dwight Howard just didn't handle the situation well, and, you know, I think other guys are going to have to learn from it. You know, it's like, I mean, I just can't believe that we're actually seeing something like this drag on and on and on. You know, I wish he would have already just been traded, you know. And then last year when we saw this, when he opted into the deal, I'm thinking again, I go, after all this demanding a trade, he opts in the deal, and all of a sudden he's happy, and then Orlando, you know, then he has the injury, and then all of a sudden he wants out of Orlando again, you know. Why did he opt in the first place? There's just so many underlying questions to this. And like I said, it's hard to watch. You know, it's hard to even stay focused on the subject, but it's the only thing that keeps coming up. It's like breaking up with your girlfriend and you can't stop looking at her Facebook page or something. If you know what I mean. It's like, you know, you can't stop thinking about her. It's the only thing that comes to mind. And this is the same thing. Dwight Howard's the only thing that comes up on the NBA radar now that Deron Williams re-signed with the Nets.
Well,
there's no other story that even gets close to this one.
Okay, well that sounds exactly like a good point to transition to the Miami Heat about the spurned boyfriend checking in on the Heat Index and Brian Windhorst in another city not named Cleveland. Boo-hoo. But no, I mean, I was not thrilled. Obviously, I don't want to see anything that improves the Heat, but you know, you had a few signings, and I kind of wanted to break these down with you when we had a chance here. So let's talk about it. Rashard Lewis, obviously a very skilled player coming off some injury-plagued seasons. I mean, similar kind of deal with Ray Allen, who was butting heads with Rajon Rondo, at least reportedly, in Boston, and then they went out and signed Jason Terry anyhow. So, I mean, let's talk about who the Heat are getting and how that improves their roster, or if at all.
Like I said all along, the Heat still neglected the point guard position and the center. You know, which I think they need to fill in desperate. You know, it would have been great had they been able to get a Chris Kaman, you know, but they weren't able to. They weren't able to bring in a point guard, you know, but they are going to try to stretch the floor. It means LeBron's going to be playing more point next year, you know, in order to basically, you know, leave Rashard Lewis and Ray Allen open up on the wings. You know, I mean, we watched what happened in this year's playoffs when Battier hit fire. You know, he didn't do that during the regular season. You know, and in the playoffs, he was unbelievable from three-point line. I mean, granted, all of them were open threes, but it seemed like he made almost every single one. And when you had Ray Allen, who's one of the best long-range shooters in NBA history, you know, you've suddenly added a key piece as long as he's healthy. And Rashard Lewis can also be valuable, too. You know, he brings you size. You know, he hasn't been very good over the past 3 years, but, like, really since the Cleveland series a few years ago. But, you know, like I said all along, I think Miami did a nice job, you know, trying to improve the roster. Personally, I think they still made a mistake by passing on a couple guys in the draft. You know, there were a couple guys I would have taken if they passed on. But, you know, I just don't know where Pat Riley's philosophy was on that one. But, you know, Boston has improved their roster significantly since last season. I think they're going to give Miami a true run, especially if they're able to sign O.J. Mayo. You know, because, I mean, their roster just looks deep. The Celtics have a very deep roster, but like I said, adding Solinger, you know, adding a center and Fab Melo, you know, you've added, you know, at this point, Jason Terry. You know, I mean, they're suddenly, and especially if they add Mayo, they're going to have a very deep backcourt. And also Avery Bradley, who was fantastic in the second half of last season, didn't even play, you know, in the Miami series. Wow. So, which is a big loss for Boston. So, I mean, the series outcome could have changed had Avery Bradley been healthy, and I think it may have a little bit. I mean, I don't know if Boston would have won, but I think maybe, you know, Game 6 and 7 could have been closer than they were.
Yeah, I'd have a hard time finding anyone. I'd have a hard time finding anyone that could have beat LeBron in that Game 6. That was one of the craziest performances I've seen, short of Michael Jordan, since when LeBron took over and beat the Pistons almost single-handedly a few years ago. But you talk about Jared Sullinger here, and it got me thinking. 'Cause I'm watching some of this this other NBA stuff going on. They're in the summer leagues right now. I guess explain to me a little bit, because I've almost never really paid very close attention to the summer leagues, but now I can't seem to get away from it. So explain the process. Sullinger's looking good, but I mean, how do these things work? Is it usually just the rookies? Is it most of the team except the superstars? It's usually
rookies and second-year players, and then a bunch of guys who aren't going to make the team will wind up being assigned to D-League squads or will going over and playing Europe. But it gives a chance for guys to shine, who aren't necessarily going to make the team. I mean, you can look at players. I mean, I can't even think in other years, because last year there was no summer league, and going back 2 years for me is just too hard to think about right now. But when you take a look at it, there are guys who have, absolutely just flourished in the summer league, and they've caught the attention, of multiple league execs around the league. And then when they go and make the team, they're just like, wow, this guy is really good. Let's take a chance on him. I remember watching him in Vegas, and he put up 35 points a game. Let's take a chance on him. Let's see what we can do. He's costing us a minimum contract. Let's see what we can do. We'll give him a 10-day contract and see what he can do. That's what the summer league's cool, though. And, you're going to get to see guys, like Dion Waiters playing with Kyrie Irving and Tristan Thompson and Tyler Zeller. Cavaliers are going to be a very fun team to watch in the summer league, because they have
I would say so.
They have some incredibly talented young pieces on that team. And especially people are going to want to see Irving and Waiters run the floor together.
I do. I'd love to see
if
that works.
A lot of people do.
Hope so.
And I also forgot to add about the Boston Celtics. I forgot totally that they added Jeff Green.
Right.
Who was it's funny almost in the fact that they originally traded Jeff Green for Ray Allen. The number 5 overall pick was traded for Ray Allen. Jeff Green then played for the Thunder, and they reacquired him, a year and a half ago in the Kendrick Perkins trade. Boston overpaid for him. But like I said, Boston now has depth at every single position. Especially if they sign O.J. Mayo, they're going to have, they'll have Rondo, starting at the 1, Terry backing him up, and then you have Avery Bradley the 2, you'd have O.J. Mayo there, or Mayo starting and Bradley coming off the bench. Then you have Pierce and Jeff Green at the 3, Garnett helping out with Sullinger. He can develop Sullinger's game big time, if he's willing to work as a mentor. And then you have Fab Melo now at the 5, and, you still have Brandon Bass, too. I mean, that team, like I said, the Celtics team is very deep. And they could withstand some injuries next year and still be a very competitive team. I think they're going to give Miami a legitimate run for their money in the East next year. I think they'll be very entertaining.
Well, part of me wondered if the Celtics didn't get a little better through addition by subtraction. Whether it's Ray Allen, he's getting old. He's losing some speed and quickness. It's not quite the same player that you're used to when you think about Ray Allen. But then again, that wasn't the same Dwayne Wade you got most of the playoffs. Bosch was hurt, so people do start breaking down at the end of long seasons. But do you think it was a smart move by the Celtics to, not that they could have kept him, but do you think it's going to help or hurt them?
But apparently from what I understand is his relationship with Rajon Rondo was basically beyond repair, to say the least.
Yeah,
and, I think Boston did a nice job moving on, especially, like I said, if they wind up with O.J. Mayo. At this point in my career, I would take a young O.J. Mayo who's in his mid-20s over, a Ray Allen who's 36 years old. That's me personally. And because, Mayo will give you a longer shelf life. He's not as good of a teammate as Ray Allen, but like I'm saying at the same time, Mayo's younger, he'll prove to be healthier for a longer time. And he's not just going to rely on his 3-point shot the entire time. That's what Ray Allen's good for at this point. Ray Allen's not this is not the Ray Allen that used to put up 20 points a game, and be an all-around great player. He's got bad ankles now. His body, that's what happens to a 36-year-old. It's breaking down. And it allowed them to go out. They were able to sign Jeff Green and, add Jason Terry to the mix. They were able to add, valuable pieces to their team. Like I said, I think Danny Ainge has done a fantastic job with Boston. But we could also see at the same time, we've seen Ray Allen leave, Kevin Garnett retire, and the team, what if Ainge was saving the cap space? We could have been looking at a team that could have won 22 games this year, 25 games,
That is true.
It's amazing to think that they could be a very valuable team.
Well, I'll tell you what, in the last minute that we have here, Zach, what are we supposed to look forward to for Team USA? What's on the radar? What's coming up on the horizon? Any other interesting NBA action we didn't get a chance to touch on this week?
I would just say Team USA, just watch out. They're fun to watch off the fast break. Those guys are so quick, so athletic, and they're going to take a lot of threes at the same time, too. Especially the three-point line is different in FIBA, in the FIBA championships and Olympics than it is in the NBA. So take a look for that. And I think that's about it. I think USA, I'd be very surprised if they don't win the gold. But like I said, when they go against a team like Spain or even the Brazilians who have a lot of size, I think that's where it's going to be really fun to watch because I think those are going to be their most competitive games.
Well, we're going to tune in and check that stuff out. And if you want to check out Zach, you can find him on Twitter. He is at Z Baris. That's Z-B-A-R-I-S. Zach, as usual, it's always been fun bringing you on the program. One of these days we might be able to get to announce where you're going to be working next year, but we'll get to that when we get to it, shall we?
Well, that'll be October, yeah, and I'll announce it then.
All right, only a few short months. That's only about 2.5 months away. So, Zach, thank you again, and always appreciate it. You're welcome on the program anytime, buddy.
All right, well, thanks again for having me on. I love being on. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks, Zach. Yeah, that is Zak Baris, just a good friend of the show. We love the insight that he brings with all things NBA, and we know that a lot of you have had your curiosities piqued, and you've been listening and leaving comments on our YouTube channel, listening to the show after the fact. So I want to say thank you if you're listening to this on YouTube, and I want to ask you to consider clicking that little subscribe button. That would mean a lot to us. Tell your friends about it as well. And please make sure you're leaving mostly civil comments underneath the episodes. If we're saying some stuff that gets you thinking, leave your thoughts. Let's continue the conversation there. So, want to thank our sponsor for this segment. It is Three Black Cats Studio. Just check out their site. It's tribal belly dance accessories and homemade herbal products. It's the number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com. That's STORENVY. Only one E. The number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com. Special thanks to Brandon, who joined us talking about the NFL action in the Cleveland Browns. Special thanks to Zak Baris, who was talking with us about the NBA. And we do this show every week, so please make sure you're following us, telling your friends, and joining our conversation here. We're going to be right back after a quick break, and we're going to make that transition and talk about agree to disagree stuff, politics, finance, all that other jazz. We'll be right back. My name is Brian Engelman, and this is the new AmericanMedia.com. You are watching The New American Media